today.
Hello there viewer, so this is a different video that I normally cover. This is on how to try to get Kyber. As you can see, I'm pretty close to getting Kyber, and there's just a few tips that I share whilst I set my defense of how I've been able to get to Kyber, and particularly this season I'm very close to getting Kyber. So let's have a look at how I deal with this. So what I do first is by checking the opponent, checking if they've got an account on SWGoH.gg. This opponent doesn't, so I can't check their history. And that is one of the main benefits of that website, is that you can check your opponents, and also you can check your own history, and you can basically work out roughly what they put on offense and what they put on defense. But this is going to be on how you can try to counter your opponent without any of that knowledge. So first off is seeing their GP. So the enemy's opponent has 5.1 million GP, and I only have 4.8. So a massive disadvantage for me. So let's have a look at his roster first off. So we'll sort it by gear tier, and then we'll see how many relics he's got. Now I believe I've already counted this, and it was about 29 relics, as you can see. And then we try to count off how many gear 12s, and I think that's about 30, I believe, gear 12s. And then we go through the gear 11s, and there doesn't seem to be that many. There's not many gear 11s. So once we've done all that, we go through speed. So I've started working out already potentially what could be on defense. So I'm assuming it's probably going to be Padme, and it's probably going to be Darth Revan. So I've got to, those are going to be the two main teams I think that are going to be on defense. So I've got to try and find a way of countering that lineup. And then he's got a relic Luke, but not many other rebels are relic. Ahsoka is relics of, yeah, I think the Padme team is going to be on defense. He's got a General Skywalker, but it's not relic, so I could be able to do some quite nasty stuff to that team. So let's have a look. 501st. Yeah, I could do my CLS rebel team. The key thing would be using Han Solo to stop Rex early on, so I think my Rebel CLS team is going to be on there. Let's have a look at all the others. Okay, Bad Batch is not going to do anything. Bounty Hunters, people seem to put them on defense a lot. Normally my CLS team is pretty good at taking that team out. I think I could find a way of maybe using my own Bounty Hunters to take that one out, so I'll move on. No other scary clone troopers there, so that's fine. Droid army, yeah, so he's got basically a General Grievous lineup. That's probably going on defense, so I'll probably have to use Jedi Revan for that one. Empire, probably more offense. Okay, Ewoks. Yeah, I don't think my Gear 11 Enfys Nest is going to be able to do enough damage to Ewok Elder or Wicket. Those are the two key characters for this lineup. So I'll probably have to come up with a new lineup to take on that team. That's potentially on defense. First Order could be on defense, although it's not really a 5-man team he's got there. He's got but nothing else, so that might not be on defense, so I'm not going to worry about that. Galactic Republic, yeah, I think it's going to be potentially the 501st and Padme on defense, so that's fine. Geonosians are normally on defense. I'd take mine on offense, but I think that's going to be Sith triumphant food. Oh, we've already seen the Imperial Troopers. Jawas. Okay. that could potentially be on defense, but it's more likely going to be on offense because they're not very high gear. Jedi, it's a real mixed bag, so that's probably going on offense, but I wouldn't expect that on defense. Mandalorian, not really enough of a team there to build, so he's probably not putting on defense. Night Sisters, I'll be very surprised if that's on defense. It probably will be, so that'll be very easy Imperial Trooper food. Yeah, that's just all food for the turn meter, basically. So I don't think that's going to be scary, so I'll have to keep my Imperial Troopers on hand. Old Republic, that's definitely going to be Malik solo food, or even Kylo Ren solo food. Phoenix Squad, I'll be very surprised that's on defense. That is not high enough to be scary. Easily Imperial Trooper food. So let's move on. Rebels, potentially on offense, because I would be surprised if he's got... He doesn't have Chewbacca. Oh no, he does have Chewbacca, there he is. He's stretching his mods thin by the looks of it. Let's have a look at resistance. This is potentially on defense because he's got many more options for that. He's got Finn, Rey, another Rey, he's got R2 and BB-8, and also C-3PO. They all 6 of those could be used in a resistance lineup. That is more than likely on defense. I'll have to think about that. Scoundrels, okay, yeah, not too scary, I don't think. Separatists, wow, yeah, he's got many more separatist options there. Okay, cool. Let's have a look at Sith Empire once again. This could be quite difficult, but I think this is going to be on defense. I think he might put this on defense because it will force me to use my Sith Empire. If I don't put my Sith Empire on offense, then we could be both stuck. So we've got to have a counter. One of us has to have a counter, and then I think that's it. Smugglers are not that scary. Let's have a quick look at ships. Let's just whiz through this one because I think I know what I'm going to set, basically. Yeah, I think I might end up having to use... I might end up using my Rebel fleet and the Bounty Hunter fleet on offense. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Okay. Right, so with all that done, we use all of this information to then place our teams on defense. So what I'm going to do here is basically go very heavy on the north wall here because you've got more banners on offer than down on the south, so there's no point going heavy down here if he can get more banners up here. So I'm going to put my strongest defence up here. Let's go and do the 501st. That's the first team to go down, so we lock this one in first. From what I could see, there was very little he had on option to sort of counter this team, so let's use that as our benefit, and then we also will be using Padme on defense because that will really stretch his options for attacking me. So 2 teams already locked in, and I feel that I feel much more confident that this is going to be very tough for my opponent to get through. So what we'll do is we'll put in one team that will be fairly strong, but not too strong on defense. And what I'm thinking is possibly the Shack team here. So this will be fairly solid, I believe, on defense. The Relic 2 is going to make fighting that team a little bit more tougher. So we'll go back out, and then we'll go down here now. So what I spotted was that he had a fair few Jedi on option, and I probably believe that he's going to use that on offense. So what I want to do is make him use those Jedi. So I want him to use Jedi Revan, for example, against my General Grievous. so that he doesn't then have that as an option against my 5-0 first and my Padme team. So already we are starting to delve into the tactics and also the strategy of GAC. So we're already making my opponent, before he even realises it, stretch his roster. And then what we'll do even further is we'll put in another tough team. So it's equally tough, but again, he did have a counter for this, and this was the Imperial Troopers or the Empire. So again, we are making him use, potentially, the Empire to take out this team, and instead of using that on the 5-0 first and the Padme team. So in we go. So we've locked those two in, and that has... I'm hoping that is going to make him have some real tough choices to make. And then what we'll do is we'll go on the back wall, and I'll show you something here. So Old Republic, here they are, and then I'll just get the tag up as well. The Old Republic, so this is normally the lineup I use with the 2 tanks. I prefer having formations with 2 tanks, but what we want him to do is not use that Kylo Ren or even his Malik to solo this team. So what we need to do is come up with something that will stop that solo. So you could use Emperor's Nest, considering that we're not going to be using Emperor's Nest against Ewoks, so that is an option, but I'm more leaning towards using T3, because T3 should in theory stop him using Kylo Ren, because T3 will counter Kylo Ren, and I believe he does also have the option to do ability block and also daze, but don't quote me on that. So we'll put that team in, we'll lock that team in, and then what we'll do here is we'll just have to throw in a random team. I like to put in my Phoenix squad, because my Phoenix squad does catch people out because of the way that I've modded them. So what I'll do is I'll put that team in, and also I'm only putting this team in because there's not that much offense capability with this team. I could do my Geonosians, but he's got teams that can counter that, and also I've got to have an option against Jedi Training Rey, so I'll probably be using my Geonosians against her. So I've got to use a team that won't be very useful for me on offense, on defense, and this is the team, unfortunately. So in they go. In they go, and there they are, locked in place. So now all we've got was the fleet. So he had a Relic Thrawn and Relic Tarkin Admiral, and then also his Akbar was quite a low gear 8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that information to then put in my General Kenobi, because that is going to be very tough for a low gear Admiral to deal with, because they're never going to catch up with the pure pace of a Relic Admiral. And also the fact that this team is typically best on defense as well. And yeah, we'll put in that. So this is the lineup I always do. It always seems to work best, so I'm happy with that. So in they get, locked in. And a very generous GP power there, 400,000. So let's have a look at what other options I've got. So I've got to weigh up the possibility that he's going to put his Empire on defense because of Tarkin as well as Thrawn. So Rebel Fleet is going to be good against Thrawn, and the Bounty Hunters are going to be good against his Tarkin, which is, I'm assuming, going to be a mix of Empire and First Order, because that's typically what you do. But he also didn't have, like me, a very high Hux capital ship. So what I'm going to do is going to use that advantage. So I'm going to use my top admirals, which is Akbar and Thrawn, on offense. So I'm going to put Tarkin on defense, just to make it that much more difficult. And then I'm going to use the standard lineup and then put in First Order as well. And there's all the Empire as well. 4 Empire ships that will benefit from Tarkin's bonuses. I believe, can I actually... Yeah, so the Empire allies also gain potency up and defense penetration up for 1 turn. So that's going to be perfect, but also is the turn meter gain, which also is a very, very powerful tool to have on defense. So that is the main reason why I think he's going to put his target on defense, is because the turn meter is just all winning on defense. You need to have turn meter gain as an ally, not an ally of the enemy. And there we go, we've got all of that set up, and I'm feeling pretty happy with that. So we've done all of that, we've done all the homework, we've worked out what teams could be on his defense, and we've now put in 2 teams that he shouldn't have counters for, and also we put in 2 teams that he has to use, so he can't then use it elsewhere. So hopefully that will really stretch his roster thin, but it still left me with a lot of offense capability myself, just in case he has gone a little bit heavier on defense. But I have already sort of in my head got a list of what teams to use against what characters, and that all comes down to picking and finding the key characters in his roster. That has given you an insight of how you can really use the knowledge that you already roughly know, and then really use that to your advantage. And it's a lot of homework. You can spend a long time going through and checking your opponent's roster, but at the end of the day you've just got to go with what are the common teams on defense, and then what are the common teams that you use on offense, and what ones can counter what, and weigh up the pros and cons. Normally you want to be going for more offense, but I'm in a lucky position to be with a fair few OP speedy teams that I can use on offense, so I've got more of a luxury of going heavier on defense. With that all said and done, until next time, may the force be with you.
Always with you, it cannot be done.